Introduction to Post-Production. In this video, we are going to see about Introduction to Post-Production. Post-production is a technical term from the audio-visual vocabulary used in television, film, and video. It refers to the set of processes applied to recorded material, montage, the inclusion of other visual or audio sources, subtitling, voiceovers, and special effects. As a set of activities linked to the service industry and recycling, post-production belongs to the tertiary sector as opposed to the industrial or agricultural sector, that is, the production of raw materials. Since the early 90s, an ever-increasing number of artworks have been created on the basis of pre-existing works. More and more artists interpret, reproduce, re-exhibit, or use works made by others or available cultural products. These artists, who insert their own work into that of others, contribute to the eradication of the traditional distinction between production and consumption, creation and copy, ready-made and original work. Notions of originality, being at the origin of, and even of creation, making something from nothing, are slowly blurred in this new culture landscape marked by the twin figures of the DJ and the programmer, both of whom have the task of selecting cultural objects and inserting them into new contexts. Introduction to Dubbing. In this video, we are going to see about Introduction to Dubbing. Dubbing is oral translation of dialogues or narration in one language into another language. Mona Baker and Brana Hockel term it as one of a number of translation methods which make use of the acoustic channels in screen translation. It attempts to replace the original soundtrack while retaining the original phrasing and timing as closely as possible. There are two possible methods of oral translation, which are revoicing, dubbing. Revoicing is sometimes used to refer to all sorts of oral transfer in film, but it specifically means narration or commentary that does not have to keep time with the original. There is no attempt at lip synchronization, the matching of lip movements, either, unlike dubbing. In this sense, revoicing is more flexible than dubbing. Dubbing can take place at various levels. Dialogue can be dubbed in the same language. Sometimes the same dialogue will have to be recorded or dubbed in the studio again if the film location was too noisy. It can also happen that the actor is not good with the language and cannot deliver the lines properly. Then, an actor can make use of a dubbing artist to render the lines. The dubbing artist also has to be a good actor, at least in their voice, if they have to reproduce the drama of the original. They interprets or translates the emotional content of the film in their own terms. Although voice is a significant component of the totality of an actor's talent, dubbing artists rarely get the attention they deserve. Sound mixing. In this video, we are going to see about sound mixing. Mixing is the art of adjusting levels, volume of different tracks, finding the right balance for the various channels, adding, manipulating, or removing certain effects and filters to change the quality of the sound, preparing a final master from which other soundtracks can be derived. In essence, mixing is used for mixing of tracks to make them play well together while preserving the artistic intent of the filmmaker and the story. There are two fundamental types of mixers. Analog, the long mixing consoles. Digital, DAW, that is, digital audio workstation, which might be just one computer screen looking like analog consoles. On a large feature, each stem will have its own console operated by one person. On low-budget productions, there is only one mixer for everything. Here are some important functions of a mixing tools. Levels, adjusting the volume. Muting single tracks or stems, ability to listen to only certain sections at a time. limiting the power to set upper and lower limits to levels. Compression, the ability to compress audio levels in a smaller region, reducing its dynamic range to save space. Expansion, the ability to increase the dynamic range level-wise if you want to go that route. Equalization, playing with the frequencies or bands of frequencies like bass, treble, etc. Filtering, taking out parts, frequencies of sounds by passing them through filters. Reverberation, adding reverb or echo to match sounds or generate an effect. Pitch, change pitch. Synthesis, generate sounds to use quickly. You can't always go back to sound editing, so some overlapping is designed into the process. Panning, controlling space to make sound come alive within several channels like stereo, surround, etc. The individual responsible for the final mixing of all the soundtracks into the composite track. This person is also sometimes called the sound editor, recording mixer, or dubbing mixer. The individual in charge of recording sound during the actual shooting of a film. This person is also called the production mixer, production sound mixer, or floor mixer. Equipment used to mix sound from various sources during recording or recording in the first instance, the portable mixing panel that combines the sound from several microphones during actual shooting. In the second instance, any type of sound mixing equipment including a mixing console that brings together the various sound tracks. If users glance through the available digital audio standards for theoretical distribution, they might come across the following names. THX, user mix in THX certified environment and playback in one, there is no licensing involved. Dolby Digital, a 6-channel encoding format, user must buy a license to use this format. DTS, a 6-channel encoding format, user must buy a license to use this format. SDDS, an 8-channel encoding format, user must buy a license to use this format. Reference software. MixPad is multi-track recording and mixing software. Special effects. In this video, we are going to see about special effects. Special effects mean any image or elements within an image achieved by unusual techniques. This general definition includes both effects achieved through special photographic techniques or processes and those specially created before the camera when it is shooting normally. Both types of special effects are employed when the desired result is too expensive or unsafe or is simply impossible to achieve by normal means. The first category is sometimes also referred to as visual or photographic effects. Although optical effects more accurately refers to pictorial elements achieved through an optical printer and process cinematography to effects created through specially designed process cameras, these terms also are sometimes used for this category of special effects. Such visual effects were normally referred to as trick photography throughout the silent era. The second category is also called mechanical effects and refers to various kinds of phenomena that are created mechanically on the set before the camera. The group would include the creation of natural phenomena such as rain, snow, and sort or size. Life-size models such as the 25-foot-long shark in Steven Spielberg's Jaws 1975 and elaborate makeup effects are often included in this second category. Another type of special effects sometimes designated as mechanical is when a centrifuge or wires are used to give the impression of weightlessness. Sometimes both visual and mechanical effects are used together. For example, when makeup and stop-motion photography are employed for the many transformations in early werewolf films. Basics of editing. In this video, we are going to see about basics of editing. Editing has been the most widely discussed film technique since the 1920s. Films, particularly in the period before 1904, consists of only one shot and hence do not depend on editing at all. Films of various periods contain several shots but do not rely heavily on editing for their stylistic effect. Experimental films sometimes de-emphasize editing by making each shot as long as the amount of film a camera can hold. But still, one can see why editing has exercised such an enormous fascination for film aestheticians, for as a technique it is very powerful. The Ride of the Clan in The Birth of a Nation, the Odessa Steppes sequence in the battleship of Potemkin, the degradation of the gods episode in October, the shower murder in Psycho, the news on the march of Citizen Kane shown in figure, all of these celebrated moments derive much of their effect from editing. However, what is more important is the power of editing to dominate an entire film's stylistic system, which plays a key role to the film's overall construction and effect. Linear editing. In this video, we are going to see about linear editing. Linear video editing is a video editing post-production process of selecting, arranging, and modifying images and sound in a predetermined ordered sequence. The term linear editing normally applies to editing on video and derives from the fact that using videotape requires that one move sequentially through the action and sometimes change tapes to find a desired scene to make an edit as shown in figure. Several source tapes may be used on several videotape players with a single videotape recorder putting together the edited copy. There are many ways to capture the content of a video by facilities such as video camera, tapeless camcorder, or recorded audio by videotape recorder in television studio. Actually, until the advent of computer-based random access nonlinear editing systems, that is NLE, used in the early 1990s, linear video editing was simply called video editing. The final edited master copy is made according to the edit decision list, that is EDL, generated by the original editing process. Some linear editing systems employed an A by B rule process for making dissolves or wipes. In nonlinear editing, the digitizing of image and track on hard drives allows the random access of any scene without the necessity of having to handle as entire tape or several tapes. The terms linear and nonlinear have been used in relation to editing only since the late 1980s, when the development of digital editing made the difference between the two processes apparent. Nonlinear editing. In this video, we are going to see about nonlinear editing. Nonlinear editing is a video editing (NLVE) or audio editing (NLAE) or digital audio workstation (DAW) system which can perform random access non-destructive editing on the source material. It is similar in concept to the cut and paste technique used in film editing. In nonlinear editing, the original source files are not lost or modified during editing. Professional editing software records the decisions of the editor in an edit decision list (EDL), which can be interchanged with other editing tools. Many generations and variations of the original source files can exist without needing to store many different copies, allowing for very flexible editing. Compared to the linear method of tape-to-tape editing, nonlinear editing offers the flexibility of film editing with random access and easy project organization. This makes it possible to edit both standard definition broadcast quality and high definition broadcast quality very quickly on normal PCs which do not have the power to do the full processing of the huge, full quality, high resolution data in real time. Electronic and digital editing that allows one random access to any scenes in any order without having to move through the motion picture sequentially, and that also allows one to try out numerous edits and sequences. Nonlinear editing is the newest development in motion picture editing and is being used for a greater number of films, but it is more flexible, cheaper, and safer than traditional editing with a flat bed. While traditional cutting on a flatbed might still be used to create dailies and rough cuts to follow the shooting during production, non-linear editing is also used to prepare cut lists and a video work print for such early editing on film. Non-linear editing is now very popular for editing the total film and creating a negative cut list for matching the negative or making a work print from which the negative can be cut. Online editing. In this video, we are going to see about online editing. Online editing, now better known as finishing, starts with an offline project file or a project interchange file which describes the media user need to re-ingest at full quality. Online editing actually has very little to do with editing in the traditional sense. When making the master video, the time code from the edit decision list, that is EDL, or the rough cut is employed to shape the various scenes and also place them in the proper order. Corrections can be made for lighting and color, and graphics, special effects, and sound added. The digitally edited work is transferred to film by means of a film recorder. Punctuation marks. In this video, we are going to see about punctuation marks. The film editing is usually used to construct a narrative structure of a story. Editing may be considered as a coordination of one shot with the next. The film editor joins shots, the end of one to the beginning of another. This function may be made in several ways. Cut, dissolve, fade out, fade in, wipe. Cut. The most common means of joining two shots is cut, which is usually made by splicing two shots together by means of cement or tape. Dissolve briefly superimposes the end of shot A and the beginning of shot B. Fade out gradually darkens the end of shot to black. Fade in gradually lightens shot from black. Wipe. One image replaces another as a moving boundary line crosses the screen. Here, both images are briefly on the screen at the same time, but they do not blend as in a dissolve. The above mentioned aspects are called as punctuation marks or transitions. Some filmmakers cut during shooting by planning or trusting that the film will emerge from the camera ready for final showing. In such cases, the physical function from shot to shot is accomplished in the act of filmmaking. Fades, dissolves, and wipes are perceived as gradually interrupting one shot and replacing it with another. Digital. In this video, we are going to see about digital. The term digital refers to an electronic coding of information through a numerical system of zeros and ones, that is offs and ons, especially as it is used in computer and system media. Digital is opposed to analog systems that record sound waves or physical imprints analogous to the original subject. Each 0 or 1 is referred to as a bit, and 8 bits form a byte, the smallest unit for a single letter or visual elements. A baud is the term used for the rate of transmission of bits in a single second. The digital system on disk has been for some time the primary means of recording music, though digital tape has also been developed for the same purpose. The DVD, that is digital versatile disc, will record both sound and image. Digital sound is the latest development in motion picture exhibition. Digital imaging software is heavily used for special effects and animation in the film industry. Analog. In this video, we are going to see about analog. Analog is a method for the recording or playback of either picture or sound that uses a signal analogous to the original light or sound waves given off by the subject in terms of intensity and modulations. Such traditional methods of transmitting information are subject to deterioration in contrast to the new method of digital transmission that contrasts to the new method of digital transmission that converts image and sound into a series of zeros and ones, that is, offs and ons. Working process of analog and digital mechanism.